Hello, lads and ladies, and welcome back to the show. It's Monday night, and we're here to review League One. Now, a little bit different this weekend as well. FA Cup weekend came upon us, and it was nice to kind of have a break from League One, take stock, and kind of go again ahead of this weekend. There's some big game this weekend, which we will discuss, but I thought we'll do a show to kind of just review the whole League One season, because on a Monday or a Wednesday, whenever we do the show, it's kind of hard to kind of see the season as a whole, because you've looked at most teams now played 16, 17 games. It's only Portsmouth that have played 15 games. So we're kind of at 35% through the season. We're coming up to a big period where Christmas comes back and we're over halfway, and the table has really taken shape now. And I'm going to go through it. I've gone through my League One stat pad that I create every single year as well. But we need a co-host. Now, he is back, and, we've managed to get him back, and we missed him last week, and he's here once again. Our friend Jake from the Stacey West podcast. How are we, mate? Good to see you.
Yeah, but I had a lovely weekend following the football, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we made the headlines for the wrong reasons this weekend, getting knocked out by a National League South side, which was funny if you're not a Lincoln fan. I mean, I went down there. Awful day. But no, I needed the break, mate. Like the content is pretty much 24/7 at the moment, and I just thought it was just getting too much, and I wasn't having much personal time to do a lot. So I just took a step back from it for a week, and ready to go again. And obviously we've got a big week ourselves. We've got Carabao Cup action tomorrow night away at Bristol City, and then just the small fact of the league leaders coming to town on Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. As you can see, because I'm donning the Plymouth green, I'm ready for them.
The turtlenecks come out. Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I can understand Jake's point, and he is back. Hopefully, after a week, he's improved after his last couple of weeks, because he hasn't been quite his best, has he? He isn't like me. He doesn't go and have 3 days off to go and prepare correctly. He's here, there, and everywhere, aren't you, Jake? And to be fair, he is a good lad, and he runs a good channel over on the Stacey West. If you haven't checked it out as well, but the amount of stuff I write every week about League One, it was nice just to kind of have a weekend away from it. And when I was writing about it kind of this afternoon, really going back over it again and going over the season, it's kind of been like a couple of things surprised me in terms of statistics. We will go through them very soon, but we'll come to the comments. And if you are just joining us, hit a like on this stream as well. That would really help as well. And we have donned the League One badge up there as well. Or is it up? There you are. Up there. Yeah, there you are. You're near to it. So if you like that, let us know. Come on, Ben. Time is money. Love that. Evening. Anyone know what? Yeah. So basically, the streams are normally at 7 o'clock. Now, I want to watch the FA Cup draw. That isn't a problem for Jake, is it? Thank you very much, Katie. Pompey Fanny, delight. We got a giant killing. We dodged a giant killing on Friday, especially on national TV. Hopefully, we get back to winning ways in the league. Yeah, always a good win. I think Hereford away is a tough draw. It is a brutal place to go. It really is. And it's a good win, that. And back to winning ways after a couple of weeks off, kind of not been at the standard, was always good. But we're going to start off from the bottom, Jake, and we'll just go through quickly, really. You reflect on one and I reflect on one. Now, Burton Albion, I think they lost 6 out of the first 7 games, didn't they? Then they ended up sacking Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. And I saw a tweet earlier on that went back. All I ever see is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank is do everything but manage Burton Albion. Obviously, they went the separate ways, and Dino came in. Since he came in, he's got 11 points from 11 games. Now, if he carried on that trend till the end of the season, he'd be on 39 points, which from last year it wouldn't be enough. In any other League One season, it wouldn't be enough. However, I think they can take stock of I think they'd be 18th in the table, and they get six teams have got less points than them. Obviously, Cambridge are in there, Cheltenham are in there, Forest Green Rovers are in there, Morecambe are in there, Accrington, I think I've got 10 points as well. So, to get more points in those teams is encouraging, although I'm sure there'll be, after a few more in the next 11 games, to kind of get him out of that bottom 4.
Yeah, we were very worried, weren't we, for Burton at the start of the season, thinking that they might have become another Crew Alex of a couple of last season, but they've really stepped it up to the mark. I think it just shows you what you can get when you have a man manager come in like Dino, done really well, hasn't he? And they look a decent outfit now, by all accounts. So that. Sorry, Ben. I just had a Mackey's. It wanted to come back up then. Yeah, don't you make a comment, boy. I've been back 2 minutes. Just you go steady.
I'm not. I'll resist.
Yeah, just look. They're doing better now, and obviously, like you say, if 6 points, 6 teams are doing worse than them since Dino's come in, that gives them a lot of hope that they can escape the bottom four. And maybe if they have the whole season, they might do it, but it actually is going to make it a little bit tighter down the bottom, and that they have that really poor start.
Agree. I think that seasons are kind of broke down into 10-game chunks, aren't they? However, you've got to kind of the first 10-game chunk, or 7-game chunk was horrific, wasn't it? And the next 10-game chunk has to be unbelievable to make up ground, and it kind of feels like they're always going to be playing catch up. They're not that many points adrift. A couple of wins and you're out of it. There's so many times this season where you've looked. I think there's 7 or 8, 9 times till the end of the year where it's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and it's like, or even over a bank holiday, you've got Monday, you've got Friday, Monday, Saturday, and it's kind of like where you can get 3 wins or a win and 2 draws at the bottom of the table. You can kind of get away. Now, I also want to mention Forest Green when we're talking about Burton as well, because those 2 teams have both conceded 35 goals, which is the most in the division. And I'm one that, and I get a lot of stick for this, I prefer winning 1-0 away from home than winning 3 or 4-0 away from home, because winning 1-0 away from home, week in, week out, wins promotions, wins championships, it wins tournaments, in my opinion. I love a 1-0 away win. Look, I stress and I basically have 3 heart attacks, and my heart rate's 195 beats per minute. And it's like, but those wins are the best and they build character. And they're not doing that at the moment because they're just conceding way too many goals. Now, if you look at it, the first kind of start to the season, it was good. They got, I think, 4 points from the first 3. Since then, I believe they've only got 7 points from the last 10 games as well. So it's kind of not a great run to be on. I know they've beaten Bolton at home, they've beaten Accrington at home as well. But going away to teams sometimes, I just think that they're not good enough, really.
Yeah, they've struggled, haven't they? They've certainly been the side that's come up and have struggled the most out of the ones that have come up this year. They were poor when we saw them, one of the worst sides. Not the worst side, because we'll come on to them in the not too distant future. But yeah, they were poor, and they've been really poor, and it just shows you the manager. Obviously, he's come up from the National League, obviously not managed Football League before. He's come straight into League One, and he's found it difficult. And I think Forest Green as a club are acclimatising to the level, and I've got a feeling they might have to go back down to come back up. But it might be one of those years for them.
I agree with you, and I think the one thing that you have to do is it's all about acclimatising and getting used to the level. It does take time, but sometimes in League One you run out of time. And Wimbledon went 23 games without a win last year, and it's kind of like, well, time runs out just like that. You lose 5 or 6, all of a sudden you're 5 or 6 points adrift. There's no time to be able to catch up or get extra training sessions in. Unlike the Premier League or the Championship this year, they haven't got a month break. It's constant in League One, and it's kind of like the games come kind of quicker, and it's a really weird one. MK Dons. Now, here's an interesting statistic here for you. Last year, they did really well. Obviously, missed out on automatic promotion on the last day, and they beat Plymouth 5-0. This year, they've lost 10 games. They lost 9 in the whole of last year. And it's kind of like, well, what's gone wrong? And you get to pick it all together, in my opinion. Losing Scott Twine and losing Harry Darling is big. But the one thing that they've done is they've kind of gone for a much older group of players. Your Will Griggs, your Bradley Johnsons, those types of players that they brought in. Now, I am a big believer in experience. And the best age you can probably get for an average age of a squad in League One is between 24 and 25, because you've got all the bodies to see you through. And I just don't think they've got a good mix. I think it's kind of like a lot of different types of players who don't suit the kind of the system. One of those is Zach Jules, who's returned to the side recently, who isn't a ball-playing defender, and that's what they want him to do. And I kind of think sometimes Liam Manning's stubbornness to kind of play the right way is kind of affecting them now, if I'm honest with you. I think kind of if they went to kind of a more direct approach, and I know that's what he's not going to do, kind of a more heavy metal football approach, they'd get more results in the short-term future. I know they're thinking more the long-term future, but at this moment in time, they could be in trouble. For the amount of goals they're conceding, the home record is poor. I know they picked up 4 points on the last 2 games, which is improvement, and they kind of kept 2 clean sheets. Where do you see this MK Dons side, Jake, at the moment? Because I do believe they won't go down, but it's a big, big kind of setback from a project that was building. And I said it was a 3-year plan when Russell Martin came in. He left after year 2, and year 3 was kind of like a performing year to kind of for them to do really well. I thought they'd finish in the top 10. They finished 3rd, and they probably went a little bit higher than what I thought they would do. Where do you see them nowadays?
If I'm honest, Ben, and I hate to draw parallels to my own club, but they're pretty much what we were last season. If you look at it, they had a year where they were ahead of schedule and finished in the playoffs, didn't get promoted because obviously all the stars aligned for MK to get promoted last year. They were able to get Scott Twine. Yes, the manager left, but they brought in someone who was doing a really good job. But ultimately, the end goal wasn't achieved. And then when you don't achieve that, and the players who are performing at a really high level are going to get picked up because, you know, that's the food chain and that's the way the football market works. And ultimately, they've not been able to replace the same quality as what they had. So the young lad that's coming from Norwich and Will Grigg are not anywhere near the level of Scott Twine. The centre halves that they've got, Zach Jules has come back from his loan at Fleetwood, not the level of Harry Darling. So when you replace your really star players with inadequate quality, you're going to struggle. And I think I sort of sympathise for MK Dons fans because we were what they are last season, and they were, like you say, poor at home, really struggling to pick points up, and it's a tough watch. They'll stay up because they've got a good squad and they've got a really good manager. You know, like you, I still believe that Liam Manning is probably one of the top 10 managers in the league at the minute. But you've just got to worry that they've got to get the points. They've got to find them. At the minute, they're just really struggling to do that. And consistently, you know, like you said, a couple of clean sheets back to back will do them no harm. But they've got to do that on a more regular basis if, you know, they're going to want to get to 50 points as soon as possible because, you know, they're going to have to. There's a lot of teams down there that will be scrapping with them. And MK are not the team that you fancy in a nasty moment. You know, you like your Morecambes, your Accringtons, your Fleetwoods that have that nasty streak about them. You know, we watched Fleetwood the other week, then they can be nasty. That Rooney that you've got at right back can be nasty when he needs to be. Accrington were nasty when they needed to be on the other week. So MK Dons, I don't see that. So maybe they might struggle a little bit more, but, you know, I can see them staying up by the skin of their teeth, if I'm honest.
Again, we'll talk about Accrington now because you saw them on Tuesday. They stopped the rot after 5 consecutive defeats. The previous 3 games, they conceded 3 goals. And it's just not Accrington, are they? Now, I worked out last season, if they want to repeat the same level of results, the same kind of wins, they'd have to win 13, draw 5, lose 11. Now, I'm not having this Accrington Stanley side that I've just lost 5 in a row, 5 out of 6. We'll go and win 13 games.
No.
I think they'll win enough games to stay up. I really do. And Tom made a very good point last week where they can go and win 2 games in a row, but then they'll win for 4, win a game in a row and kind of shock. They are a little bit like Shrewsbury in a way where they'll be really good one week and then totally off at the next. They haven't got a proper striker. Losing Colby Bishop has defied their season. If they have Colby Bishop up front, I think they're back into the top 12 contention because they've got a goal scorer there. And I think they've got a core to hold on to a 1-0 or a 2-1 away from home. And that is huge, having a goal scorer to kind of, you've got belief to kind of play into someone and score goals. And you've got Ben House and you've got Jack Diamond, Fleetwood. If I'm honest with you, we haven't got anyone. We're quite similar as well. We're kind of relying on scraps at the moment as well and goals from like different areas. Where do you see this Accrington team, Jake? Because it's not where it was 12 months ago, but they won 3 in a row, then they lost 5 in a row, then they drew 1. It's kind of like they're so inconsistent, but they're quite constant as well.
Yeah, you might be able to guess this was the worst team that I've seen so far this season, especially that I've seen all the games. Luckily, they were poor, and they were very poor. Obviously, that they had a lot of antics going on Tuesday night. I think it was at one point they had 3 players down at one stage, just horrendous. Obviously, they were fortunate to get their goal. I mean, I won't talk about the referee because it will make me go red in the face. But no, just really poor. They didn't create anything outside of the goal. They were giving the ball away in their own defensive third. They were really struggling, and it just doesn't remind me of Accrington of last season, because Accrington of last season, obviously, like you mentioned, with Colby Bishop, had someone to play into. This year, they're going up to someone like a Sean Wally, who's the ball doesn't stick; it comes straight back off him. And when you're playing, you've got some big physical centre halves in this level. You know, just on Tuesday we had Regan Poole and Adam Jackson, who are and Paulie O'Connor, who are big old bruisers. I just think they're going to struggle. You think they're going to stay up? I would be very surprised if Accrington are a League One club next year, and that's unless they book their ideas up, then, because I think they need to pull the finger out a little bit.
Yeah, John Coleman is Accrington through and through, and he will still be there. And even Andy Holt was up at 3 a.m. in the morning worrying about things. Get a striker in, and it's all a different matter as well. Cheltenham Town, after a difficult start, they lost the first 3. Picked up a point at Highbury, then went away at Exeter and won by 1-0. Daniel Lundu scored that day as well. And he's a big player for them. When he's not in their side, I don't think he was in it on Saturday, and they really missed it. And they're trying to play into Lloyd up front, who just doesn't have the impact that a Daniel Lundu or an Alfie may have. And their season are going to rely on those two. And they've got 11 points from their last 11. Now, over that, I think they'll stay up. And it is a bit of a drop-off because they were so high last year and they were kind of so far ahead of the bottom 4 last year. Kind of, if they got that point tally again, they'll be disappointed. Now, Wade Elliott is being questioned after the result every weekend in the FA Cup, which was a really poor one.
You ignored that, didn't you?
I knew who it was. I just couldn't pronounce it. I just that's what it was. You know, it's going to be a Sam Nombe situation all over again. And the one worry for me is they're the lowest goal scorers in the division with Morecambe. And when that happens, look, they don't concede goal after goal like some teams like Forest Green or Burton do, but if they could just add a couple of goals, and Alfie May being in and out the side, I think he's injured at the moment, and Daniel Lundu being in and out the side, they're just I kind of worry where goals comes from. You know, Broom will get you 3 or 4 goals potentially here or there, possibly even more with the right service. But I just worry where goals come from for them. And I think they're going to be in this battle where they're going to be in one week and out the next.
Yeah, I think Alfie May being injured at the moment is massively hindering Cheltenham Town. Like you said, Big Dan is a massive part of them, and I think Big Dan only works properly when you've got a little man to play off him. And obviously they've not had that to the same quality as what they did last year. They were so far ahead of where they were this time last year. They were fantastic last season, and yeah, I mean, similar to me. I mean, you think they're going to stay up, but I'm struggling to see a division where Cheltenham aren't in the bottom 4 at the moment. Obviously, Wade Elliott's under pressure, like you say. Tough old job for him. Look, it's difficult because Cheltenham really are stereotypically a League 2 club. And I'm sure they've enjoyed the little ride in League 1, but I think it's going to be coming to an end.
I think there's a lot of clubs that are punching well above the weight. I think if you looked at League 1, I think 8 clubs could potentially be the size of the Championship, and I think you could look at 8 or 9 clubs kind of the size of kind of League 1, League 2 area. There's only a few clubs that I'd really classify as, a League 1 club. And funnily enough, I think Lincoln are one of those, right? Bang in the middle. One of the kind of the bigger ones of the middle bunch, really. And that's not a bad place to be. Cambridge last year were very good at kind of not losing games of football. Although they lost 18 games last year, they will win, lose, draw all season for a newly promoted side. They've already lost 10, which is 55% of the games they lost last year as well. I just worry for them now here and there, on that they can go and get dropped in with 4 or 5 bad results. but I think they've got the capabilities of going away and grinding out a result a little bit more. And I think Mark Bonner is a good manager, and I do think Cambridge will be okay. Obviously, Ironside and Sam Smith as well are vital for them, and January's going to be huge for them. Sam Smith, I hope he stays with them.
Yeah, right. You wrote that this morning, didn't you?
I didn't. It's just come up my head.
Yeah. No. Cambridge are a similar sort of story to Cheltenham, aren't they? This time last year, far better than what they were the way they were now. Thinking about it, it wasn't long ago. I think it was maybe after 7-8 games, Cambridge were in the playoffs. Everyone's thinking, Cambridge, Exeter, which one of those two is going to stick it out and try. Yeah, and ever since really, they've been on that massive plummet down the table, haven't they? And then you're starting to get worried because Cambridge have built especially their early season form on their home form, and they've lost a couple of home games recently. Obviously, they lost to Port Vale at home, didn't they? They lost to Derby and Sheffield Wednesday as well. So they've got to try and if they're going to want to make sure they maintain the League One status, they're going to have to make sure that that's up to scratch and performing better at home. Because I think that's what's going to be the difference between some of the sides down the bottom and so who stays up and who doesn't.
Agree. Oxford United, I watched on Tuesday, and their fans still talking to me about promotion, and I'm like, okay.
Crikey.
And I think that I thought that, but when you look at it, the last few years they've started slow and always come up, but this year it's much, much different. I think that a couple of years ago they were very unfortunate to lose games of football and not win, and obviously the other day all he had was O'Donker up front. It was good. It was his first goal for the club, and he was very physical and he was very hands-on. He'd run with the ball, very direct, and I like that type of striker. Brannigan, I think, had 9 shots, and he had 3 off target, 3 on target, and 3 off kind of blocks. All he was doing was shooting from range because he had no runners, nowhere to go outside, and Fleetwood pushed out really, and they were quite easy to play against. Saying that, when they got into the playoffs a couple of years ago and lost in the semi-finals to Blackpool, they're 3 points better off than they were then on 19 points, winning that extra game and losing that less game. I think playoffs is, I don't think they'll get it. I don't think they're good enough. But where do you see this Oxford United team? Where do you see Carl Robinson? And do you think that, because for me, I've always been a big believer, I think Carl Robinson needs till the end of the season, then maybe reset then. And kind of just go, you got new owners, build something fresh, build a new manager, new team, new 3-year plan, new identity. Maybe at the end of the year when you can properly get a team together would be the right time to kind of have a look at it and replace.
Yeah, you've just taken the words straight out of my mouth, Ben. It stinks of a reset, doesn't it, at Oxford at the moment? I think everything with Carl Robinson sort of going a little bit stale. He's probably had his chance to take them up and he's not been able to get it done. Don't get me wrong, Carl Robinson is a very good manager at this level and will probably end up with another League One job, if not maybe in a Championship job, depending on who's going at the time. But I just think that, you're right, that Oxford this season, I think it's make sure you don't do anything stupid and stay in the division. Make sure that the new gaffer is going to be in League One, can assault League One and make sure that they back him, because I don't think Carl Robinson's been fully back this season. I think with the new structure, with the director of football and stuff like that, move forward with a new gaffer, maybe someone up and coming, maybe like a Matt Gray at Sutton or a John Brady that's at Northampton, and really go and attack it and see if you can actually get promoted rather than always starting slowly and making up for it on the last day.
Agree. John Brady, I've been really impressed with. I think for getting Northampton to where they were last year, and for what happened is a 1 in probably 1,000 or 10, a million chance actually, because not many teams win 7-0 on the last day and goes up on goals scored after 46 games of the season, and to react to the way they did. I always knew as soon as they were in the players, I had a kind of and knowing that they'd get beat because your head go from up there to down there. But honestly, to lift spirits like that is a huge trait. And that's something that Oxford United have been a believer of, kind of always up here, kind of never look down, always look up as well. And if you're in the comments, keep your questions firing in as well. Please like the stream. That'd be massively appreciated as well. We'll come to your comments in the next few minutes or so. We'll just talk about Bristol Rovers before we do so, who we face on Saturday. You obviously have seen this season where you won 6-3, and that's been a bit of a turning point for them. Obviously, at home this season, they've only won twice, picking up 9 points altogether. Away from home, though, they have been really good, 11 points. You know, they've gone to some good sides already this season and battled with them. They played Plymouth at home and they were 2-0 down, got a point. They went to Wednesday, were 1-0 down, got a point. You know, they went to Oakwell and lost the game, unfortunately for them. They went to MK Dons and kind of made the game kind of their own as well. And I know what Joey Barton's like. He likes these big games. He thrives off them. And he's kind of getting his plays up for them. And it's a good start for Bristol Rovers. I think 20 points. You know, you kind of you're nearly at your first landmark of 25 points. And I bet you Joey Barton's head will not be thinking of anything else but 50 points. That's in football terms, by the way. I don't know what else he's thinking, but that's in football terms. What are you thinking, Jake?
What's Joey Barton thinking? That's what I want to know, Nappers. You're one of his best mates, aren't you?
Was.
Yeah, it was until he broke your heart and left. No, listen.
I wouldn't say that until he tried to get my all-time favourite player and hero and, you know, lifelong favourite Fleetwood player to go, but he's going now anyway. So
yeah, look, Bristol Rovers have been really impressive, especially over the last couple of weeks. Like you said, I think our win at the Mems have been a massive turning point for them because they've really solidified up at the back. This Bristol Rovers team is always going to score goals. You know, they've added to that, haven't they, in the free market with Scott Sinclair coming back. That's a really good signing, I think. And you know, you're adding that to the likes of Harry Anderson, Ryan Loft, Collins, and then the Teesside Haaland, obviously. So, look, they're doing really well. I think they're comfortably going to be in League One next season, which, you know, given the last time they were in League One and the manner in which they went down, I think the Gas fans will be pretty happy with that. And you know, maybe they're one of these clubs that MK, similar to MK Dons a few years ago, 3-year plan to try and get back in the Championship. I can promise you one thing, Rovers fans, we will be doing our absolute best tomorrow night to do one over your neighbours as well. So 2 wins in Bristol in one season wouldn't be too bad, would it?
I agree. And next up is Fleetwood Town, who have drawn 9 of their first 17 games, the most in any team in the EFL. I think that shows you hard to beat, but not quite good enough to win a lot of games at this level as well. You know, wins over Plymouth and Peterborough and Accrington have kind of been the highlights of this season as well. And obviously a win over Burton Albion away. I've felt this season, you know, I think anything next to 40 points is good. The team's much better. There's a bigger budget now, and there's more of a belief now. I think we're very dull to watch. We're kind of very slow into the strikers, and we don't play with intensity. We try and play with a press, but I don't think we're fit enough or good enough to play that way. And sometimes you can see in games, we don't have a clinical striker. We are killing out for one. Callum Morton is low on confidence, and you're just trying to launch the ball to him, and it doesn't work for him. Morton is good running the channels, getting in behind, and he'll score 1 in 3 opportunities, Callum Morton. He is that type of striker. And if he was a bit better than that, he'd probably still be in the Championship, but he's not. And that's why a lot of players are in League One. They're in League One for one reason. Every player's in this league for one reason, whether that's they want to be at a certain club, they've not tested themselves yet, not been given the opportunity yet. There'll be a reason, and that's Callum Morton's kind of reason as well. And obviously injuries have played a part. I believe Carlos Mendes which is going to get recalled in January, which will be a big hit for the club as well.
Yeah, that would be massive because he was one that I was really impressed with over there. Obviously, since we played you, I thought he was really impressive at our ground. Scored the winner away, scored an equalising goal away at Fratton Park as well, from what I can remember. He scored a bicycle kick at Oxford midweek.
Right.
So he's been a big player for you. And that would be disappointing for you guys if he gets recalled early. Gives me sort of Tyler Walker vibes getting recalled early whilst he's on some good form. Maybe Luton will sort of have to see. Obviously, their manager might change, so that might obviously if Nathan Jones maybe off to Southampton, so that all might change in the next couple of weeks or so, given everything that goes on at Southampton. But Yeah, I think you've been all right, Ben. I think obviously you're halfway to your tally from last season already.
Over halfway.
You're right. You're over halfway. So look, I think you guys are fine. You've definitely improved from where you were last year. Last year, I thought you were too soft. You were conceding a hell of a lot of goals, and this time around, you're far more difficult to beat. I mean, we struggled, and you gave us a 2-goal head start. So yeah, I think you guys are going to be all right. I think, if I'm honest, Ben, I think we're both comfortably can say that I think we'll both be presenting a League One show next season with both of our teams comfortably in this level and probably looking up rather than looking down in the next 12 months. And I think Fleetwood will be under Scott Brown. Give him 3 years, give him 3 windows and see what he can do.
Agree. And Shrewsbury, another team that I think are a League One club all day long. I think that they do very well. They've got some good players, and obviously being without Daniel Adair, who I believe should be out for the rest of the season apparently as well, which is bad news for them. But they kind of managed well without them. They've been so consistent, but very inconsistent. And it is just Shrewsbury. I think they've got the 20th worst attack, 20th best attack, sorry, and the 7th best defence. And for me, that just sums up Shrewsbury winning 1-0 away from home, like they did against Fleetwood, is Shrewsbury Town Football Club. And they'll probably finish between 12th and 14th area.
Yeah, and obviously you can't talk about Shrewsbury without talking about your love affair of Tom Bayliss and Jordan Shipley, can you, Ben?
I didn't mention it.
No, but
I was very well contained today.
You didn't, but they've been massive for them, the ex-Cov boys, and Shrewsbury are one of the sides similar to Fleetwood that I think are going to be absolutely fine this year. Obviously, we thought at the start of the season they might be the one that come out of the pack and go for the top 6, but they sort of have a bit of an inconsistent run over the last month or so, 5 weeks or so. So, no, I think Shrewsbury are fine. I think they'll be absolutely fine, and if they can add maybe a striker, a clinical striker in the winter window, then I can definitely see them finishing in that sort of top half of the bottom half of the table.
Agree. And Lincoln City, I think that your season has been kind of made on moments where you've been really good and really poor. And that is what a mid-table League One side is all about. You can beat Derby County at home under the lights, special evening, special atmosphere. You can, battle a point against Sheffield Wednesday. You can go and score 6 against Bristol Rovers. Then you go and lose a weekend in the FA. Go to Ipswich and win 1-0, like you've not mentioned it before. And you can go and do these, and you can go and break a team down and basically just say, come at us and be defensively solid. The easiest thing in football, in my opinion, is setting a team up to defend, to kind of sit in. It's kind of scoring goals and being clinical and being good every week. You can literally get a team to be well organised, hard to beat. And that's what you've done. And you've done the basics very well, which last year you didn't. You're all over the place. You were honestly more over the place than spaghetti bolognese. And it's kind of one of those situations. Now you're a bit more stern. You're like kind of a roast dinner. I mean, you've got something about you, which I like. And what are you making of yourself? What are you making of Mark Kennedy? I know you're very emotional about the game the other day. Yeah. Try and forget that. And who do you want in the FA Cup round 2 tonight?
I would like nobody, because it's a tin pot competition.
Well, you have been asking for a break. You've got a weekend off now.
I know, fam. Yeah, but we'll probably reschedule a league game. No, look, I like Mark Kennedy. I think I've always said Mark Kennedy's doing a decent job. That's the most annoying thing, is that we can hack it with a big team. So this week, like I said to you, we've got Plymouth and Bristol City. Probably 2 games we're not expected to win, but probably 2 games we'll perform really well in. And I think the thing that I had to sort of tell myself this several times in the car back from Chippenham on Saturday, Kennedy's building a good foundation. He's sorting out the defensive side. Last year we were all over the place at the back. Kennedy's come in, made us really solid for the most part, apart from the last week or so, which has been an absolute living nightmare. But we've been really, we've not conceded many goals. And then you've got to think about, well, he's not really been backed in the transfer market in terms of strikers. The likes of Tom Hopper run out of contract next year. Jordan Garrett will go back. Jack Diamond will go back. The only recognised attacker that we'll probably have on our books this time next year is Ben House. So I can imagine that the remit for Kennedy was come in, sort the defence out, and then stay in League One, stabilise. Next year, we'll back you in the window, go and sign the attackers that you want, and then we'll be able to hopefully break down the teams that we've not been able to break down in recent weeks: Accrington, Port Vale, Fleetwood as well. So, look, it's an exciting time. Obviously, Saturday out of the picture. I'm really happy because if you look, Ben, if we win our game in hand, we actually go into the top 10. So if you'd have said that to me, if you said we'd be in the top 10 in November, I think this time last year we'd slipped into the bottom 4 for the first time. This time last year we had 1 clean sheet. We've now got 6. So tells you everything. We're moving in the right direction. Like you say, we're hiding in moments a little bit, but looking forward to seeing what Kennedy's going to throw at us this week. Looking forward to
it. Southampton Wednesday prediction. I'm not going to cover this today, but I fancy a Wednesday win. Like Southampton sacked Ralph Hasenhüttl today. Hasenhüttl, whatever.
Hasenhüttl.
And I think they'll put out kind of a lot of kind of reserves, kind of under 18, under 21s kind of thing. You can go there with belief of winning the game. And I always say, if you go with belief of winning a game of football, you've got a chance. I said that away at Oxford, we got a decent point in the end. So,
Southampton were really poor on. Did you watch them on yesterday? They were awful against Newcastle. So
I watched the game, and it kind of seemed it was 1-0. They were in the game, but they never seemed like they were in the game. As soon as it went 2-0, heads went down.
Yeah,
in football, that reminded me of Fleetwood last year, kind of thing as well.
Plymouth Southampton in the Championship next year.
Say again, mate.
Plymouth Southampton in the Championship next year. Tasty.
Oh, exactly. 3-0 Liverpool. We'll
absolutely.
go to the next team, Wickham, and I think that they have dropped off. I think they have dropped off like Oxford. There's one difference between them and Oxford, and it's Mehmeti. I think he's the difference. I think that once you've got him, you've got a moments of brilliance. You've got a moments to break down the back door. And I know Oxford got Brannigan, but I think Mehmeti is the top 5 best players at this league this season so far. I think he's mesmerising to watch. And I'm so surprised that an Ipswich, a Portsmouth, those types of teams haven't come in for him yet, because he's like an imposter in Wickham's team. It's like they're all big, 6 foot, head away, physical, and he's like the pacey little winger who can create stuff like never before, but it fits. And I know they've lost 7 times this year. They only lost 9 last year. They're a bit more easier to beat, and they don't win games that they were winning last year. They're drawing games. Port Vale at home, Morecambe at home. That's 4 points dropped all of a sudden.
Yeah, and they're on to Gareth Ainsworth, aren't they? They might try and see if they can get him sacked, which would be an absolute ridiculous decision for Little Wickham Wanderers. So, I'm in agreement with you, Ben. I'm just wary of time because you want to see the FA Cup draw. But
don't worry, we'll get on with it. Don't worry, son.
Look. Alex Mehmeti will not be a Wickham Wanderers player in 12 months, guaranteed.
Love that, Ben. I'm a new subscriber. Support Plymouth Argyle. Are you coming to Home Park? If so, can we meet? Of course we can. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, both FTFC.
You seen that last bit? Yeah, if we don't concede 4 goals.
There you are. I will be coming. I missed it last year due to having COVID. It was the only game I missed. So I will be coming. Just give us a message. FTFC now is on both Twitter and Instagram as well. We'll go to Exeter and Port Vale in one, really, because I think we can say the same kind of thing about them, if I'm honest with you, that both have really adapted to the level really well and kind of. I don't think Port Vale have gone 3 games without a win all season, which says a lot. And Exeter have been a breath of fresh air. A manager change hasn't put them off. Obviously, some good points on the board lately with a win over Fleetwood and a draw away at Derby, and a great win in the Cup the other day as well. I think one thing we can say for both teams, they've got big players in good areas. Exeter, you've got Giovanni Brown with 15 goal contributions this season, 8 goals, 7 assists. You've got Sam Nombe as well. And for Port Vale, you've got Ellis Harrison, who has scored 35% of Vale's goals this season.
Yeah, both been really impressive of what I've seen of both of them. Really like what they're trying to do, and they're definitely clubs that you can definitely see being back at this level next season, and they should be here for a while as well, which is good for both of their fan bases. Just horrible ground to go to, Port Vale.
Agree. And Charlton Athletic, another team that only had 13 points from the first 12 games. However, 10 points from the last 5, winning 3, only 1 defeat in those runs. They were averaging about 1.1 points a game. Now, with that little run, up to 1.35 points a game, which is over the course of the season. Doesn't seem a lot, but 12 points. And 12 points can be the difference between finishing 12th and in the playoffs. It could be that tight this year.
Yeah, really improved over recent weeks, haven't they? I think they've finally understood what Bengala wants of them, and you could see that in the win against Pompey. They absolutely blew them away, didn't they? And they've blown Exeter away in recent weeks as well, and because they were struggling to score, weren't they, Charlton, especially away from home? But now that's sort of gone off, and fingers crossed that Miles Leaburn can come back fit and firing, and that they have a real chance of getting themselves in the top 6 if they can all stay fit.
Agree. And we'll go Barnsley now, who have got the joint best defence in the Championship with Bolton Wanderers, who they actually played in the FA Cup the other day as well. How important is having a good defence for a team like Barnsley that don't score that many goals, that haven't been brilliant this year on the eye? I think Michael Duff has transformed them a little bit, where they're playing with a bit of pride, they're playing with a bit of passion, a bit of sternness, and it may take time. But I think the fans over at Barnsley will see that. After last year was a disaster after a really good year, and they were only kind of minutes away from the Premier League, weren't they? They were so unlucky against Swansea in the playoffs semi-finals a couple of years ago, and they were awful last year. They were not winning games of football. They went through manager after manager. They've got a bit of pride, a bit of passion, and they're very tight at the back with a back 3, back 5. One issue is Luke Thomas out for another 3 months, which I think is going to be a big blow, and it could kind of define if they're going to get into the top 6 or not.
Yeah, trust in Michael Duff. That he's a really good gaffer. He will eventually take Barnsley up. I've got no doubt about it. He's got the acumen to do that. Yeah, like you said, Luke Thomas being out, I don't think that they've got adequate replacements in the squad. So maybe a need for them to dip into the market in January and see if they can sign an emerging talent out of League One. Maybe like if Carlos Mendes goes back, maybe see him end up at Barnsley if they pay a big fee for him. So interesting to see how Barnsley got on, but always back the Duff.
I agree there. And Derby County have improved, although under Paul Warne, they've been a little bit slow, in my opinion. I think they've won 4 of the last 8 games as well. And over the last 8 games, they've kind of averaged about 1.75 points a game, which over the season is 80 points. The first 8 games of the season, they only averaged 1.3 points, which is 63 points. Now, you get somewhere in the middle, 72 points. I don't think that'll be enough to get into the top 6. I think you'll need 77 points this year. You need, obviously, 83 to get in last year. Obviously, Plymouth found that the hard way as well. They're going to up it. They're going to have to up it, Derby. And at difficult moments, Derby, I think, cave. They were in a difficult moment last night against Torquay in the Cup, 2-1 up. They couldn't defend the 2-1 lead. And obviously now they have to play a replay. How important are these important moments that they get through? Because they are a little bit like Peterborough. They look good on the eye, look good at home, look good when it's going well for them. They can score 3 or 4 goals. In difficult moments, they struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I'll give you a stat, Ben. In the 8 games Paul Warne has managed as Derby County manager, 6 penalties conceded. That's a worry. Stop doing that, and they'll be absolutely fine. I think they'll definitely be contending for the top 6. But like you say, I think they just need another year, get a bit of squad depth, gel together with a new manager, get on the same hymn sheet, and Warney will take them up, no doubt about it, eventually.
I do think it'll take time over there. I think it wasn't the most natural fits, but I think it will work. Bolton have won 8 out of the first 16 games, and they've been very hard to beat, and they've carried on from the kind of January period onwards. Obviously, not a massive turnover in January. I know they brought kind of Connor Bradley, who was kind of the marquee sign on loan. I think it's been brilliant for them, really, and kind of added to the already quality, bringing Trafford back in. You always knew he was going to go back there. It made sense. He was happy there last year. He was going to play every game over going to a championship move and being a second-choice goalkeeper. Obviously, keeping those loans are important. I don't think Connor Bradley will go back to Liverpool. I don't think Trafford will go back to Man City. It's going to be one of those as well. So,
You sure? Because there's been a lot of credible reports over the last couple of days that Connor Bradley might be recalled and sent out to Preston.
I agree with that. My feeling is you should always ask the loan player, are you happy at Bolton? You're playing every minute and you're shining. And I think sometimes Callum Morton found out this the hard way last year. He just came into form at Fleetwood. And I believe if Callum Morton was in the Fleetwood team from January onwards, would be 45, 46 points and clear of it. He went to the championship and found it hard. And I said this to him when I spoke to him last week. I went, I don't think you should have gone. I mean, if you just say to us now, you'd be somewhere else higher up than Fleetwood. And I think sometimes if you're patient enough, opportunities will come. They've won 23 games of Bolton. What have you made of them, Jake? Because Wickham won 23 games last year, finished 6th. Plymouth won 23 games last year, finished 7th. So they're going to be in and around that if they carry on at that record.
Yeah, good side, Bolton. Really hard to beat. Really, they don't concede a lot. Their issue is going forward. Not really massive goal scorers, I think. Maybe that, whether that's just been luck or whatever it's been, I'm sure Ian Evatt will be looking to put it right. And I can imagine we might see Bolton move for an attacker in the January window. It just sort of seems to line up, doesn't it?
Yeah. A lot of injuries at Portsmouth, Jake. Or was he froze? Oh, I thought he froze then. A lot of we're not that lucky. A lot of injuries at Portsmouth at the moment. And you know Danny Cowley, difficult spell at the moment. How do you think he's feeling? How do you think the squad is feeling? And when you get that kind of core of the squad back, I think they're crying out for January just to have a little bit of a reset already. And it kind of feels that first 10 games is giving them not false hope, because I still think there'll be a good side in and around the playoffs at the end of the year. But when you're in and around the top 2 challenging and you lose that game away at Ipswich, it kind of thinks, oh, okay. And they kind of expecting to win every game of football now. And it's not going to be like that for Portsmouth till the end of the year. But the one thing is, at home, they're not losing games. They're just drawing games. They have to win at home. If you want to go up, you have to win 15 home games a year, 17 games. You've got to go and get 50 points at home if you want to go up. And at this moment in time, I think they've drawn 4 of the first 6 at home, which 10 points from 6 overall, you're going to get 38, 40 points. They've got to up it, and as soon as possible, really.
Yeah, Danny Cowley teams are normally okay when they're going for the top end of the league, I think. I always found that Danny Cowley teams were better away from home, and I think, similar, the cases going on at Pompey as well. However, I think that obviously with the World Cup, Joe Morell's going to go back. It might just allow Tommy Lowry to nudge himself into the starting 11 on a full-time basis with Marlon Pack. But like you say, injuries, massive playing a part at Pompey at the moment. And the sooner they can get all the players back fit and firing, then I think the more likely is we're going to be talking about them as maybe an automatic promotion contender.
Sheffield Wednesday are in that race for me. I think
skip me. Don't want to talk about it.
For what they can do, I think is unreal. They've kept 8 clean sheets, which is the most in the division. They've kept 5 away from home. They've won all 5 games of football. Now, you said it off air, and we both agreed. The teams that they have beat away from home with clean sheets, they don't do that last year. They beat Morecambe 3-0. They beat Port Vale 1-0. They went to it at Bolton and won 2-0. The beaten sides that let's be honest, they should beat. They beat MK Dons. And if you look at it, they're beating teams in 21st, 22nd, kind of 13th, 6th kind of area. But they're the teams Sheffield Wednesday need to beat. And you've got to beat these teams if you want to win promotion. And with Windass, with Barry Bannon, with Lee Gregory, with Michael Smith, with these types of players, you're going to break down the door eventually. And it's a special place, Hillsborough. I can't wait to go in January as well. And they're on the roll. They've just got to keep it up, because I think they're the type of team that will, every 10 games, will take it in chunks, will win 7, draw 1, lose 2. But over the course of the season, all of that is an unreal form. And what Plymouth are setting and what Ipswich are setting, 22 points over 46 games, it's around about 94 points, which will win the league.
Darren Moore is the man. Don't care what Wednesday fans are saying. Darren Moore is the man that's going to get you promoted. End of.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, mate. I don't want to praise them too much. They'll get at me.
Love that. Where do you want to go to now? I think we'll talk about Peterborough, because I think that at home, they're very good. They won 7 out of 9. They're the second highest goal scorers at home as well. They scored 21.
Who did they lose to, Ben?
Go on, the boys! Josh Bell, Tuesday night. And they've only conceded 4 at home, and 2 obviously bar the games that they haven't won. And they're so good at home; they can score goal and goal. Away from home, though, I think they've lost 5 out of 8. And it's like, they just need to be a little bit better in tough moments. And I just don't think they've got the core. And if it went to the playoffs, knockout football, I worry. I think the only way they'll go up this year, in my opinion, is top 2. I think if they're in the playoffs, yes, they've got flair. Yes, they've got power. Yes, you can score goals and can outrun you at home. But it Hillsborough, 1-0 up, 20 minutes to go, 40,000 fans. The Barbarians are at the gate. I worry for them. I worry for them.
Yeah, I do as well. I think you're right. I think if Posh wanted to go up, they're going to have to do it automatically. And if I'm quite frank, I don't think they're anywhere near the current top 2. And that is even if it's a current top 2, they get promoted. So good side, like you say, when they want to be, but put them under a bit of pressure and they soon start crumbling quicker than what was her name? Jackie's apple crumble.
We'll talk about the next 2 together because they are special, aren't they? Ipswich and Plymouth, they're just a little bit too good at the moment. And, for Ipswich, you've got your Morseys, your Lee Evans, your Chaplins. What they've got a good core at Ipswich. I really like that now. They didn't have that last year. They've got it together to win games of football. You've got Freddie Ladapo scoring goals now, which is huge because first 10 games, I don't think he scored until the Plymouth goal, which they ended up losing. You kind of thought, is this Joe Pigott 2.0? And he's kind of fitted in really well there. And I like what they're doing. The beating sides that they should beat. There's more to come.
Do they?
And Ipswich is kind of the next one.
You sure the beating sides they should beat? You sure?
It was a slip-up. It was a slip-up.
Yeah.
He's not going to let me forget that. It was a slip-up. And they've reacted well since defeat against Lincoln. And it's easy not to. You've seen what Portsmouth have done when they lost a game. It can mess with your brain. Plymouth lost 5-1 at the weekend made a couple of changes, but it was a decent enough side.
Oh, yeah, I know. How could they lose to them 5-1?
It was.
I've had it all weekend. Oh, we beat Plymouth 5-1.
What's the time? It's 5 past Plymouth, I think. But they'll bounce back. Let's be honest. The last time they lost 5-1, they went on that unbeaten run. They just lost 5-1 again.
Brilliant.
So,
cheers, Ben. Thanks for that, because they're bloody playing on Saturday, don't you? So
they won 8 out of 8 at home, and that is special. To win 8 out of 8 at home is unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, two special sides, and if I'm honest, then I'd hate to upset the Wednesday fans. I think the current top 2 are the top 2 that go up automatically. I can't see anything changing my mind.
I agree with you. Now, let's just have a quick look at the table as well. How many teams do you see slipping out of those playoffs? Because you've got Wednesday, Peterborough, Portsmouth and Bolton. And at the moment, I think Portsmouth are the most vulnerable, in my opinion, which sounds crazy because of the form they've been on. But they had a big kind of a point gap. Now they've only got a 2-point gap, and they've got to kind of kick into gear, Portsmouth, in my opinion. Looking at the table here, Morecambe, Derby and Wickham to come. 3 big games. For me, they have to take at least 6 points out of those games if they want to go up, because otherwise they could be cut across.
I think that yes, whilst they're not in the best of form, I wouldn't be surprised if the top 6 finished the way it did in a different order. Not because of themselves, more likely because the quality outside the current top 6 is not massive. I don't think any side currently outside the top 6 has got the quality to break in. You're looking at Derby and Barnsley, both heavily inconsistent and probably projects at the moment. I can't see those 2 slipping in. And then you've got the likes of, well, if we win a game in hand, we can go 9th. We're going to be absolutely nowhere near it. I can't see anyone jumping out of the pack, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Bolton leapfrog Posh and Portsmouth and finish in that 4th spot.
One thing I will say, I think that top 9 now will stay as a top 9.
Yeah, won't be surprised.
With Charlton, Barnsley and Derby. And I said that last year between the 8, and it ended up being correct. Some big games at the weekend, just quickly, Jake. You've got Exeter, Peterborough. Again, Exeter strong, still kind of looking for Gary Caldwell's first win in the league. Obviously, not many games yet. Obviously, Plymouth and Derby, and they've been good in both games. Just a bit unfortunate, in my opinion. Bristol Rovers, Fleetwood, again, tight game. Where do you see that one going?
Sorry, Ben. Rovers win for me.
It's Cheltenham again, big game. Cheltenham went for straight last year away at Portman Road as well. They ended up coming away with a 0-0 draw, if I remember rightly, which was a huge result at the time as well. Morecambe Portsmouth, we just spoke about that as well, a huge game. MK Dons Derby, big allocation for Derby County fans as well. Derby looking to carry on some good form of late, but MK Dons looking to get back to winning ways at Stadium MK.
Yeah, difficult place for Derby to go to, especially the run that they're not a great run, MK Dons, but they're probably one of the better runs of the season, aren't they? So I think it'll be difficult for Derby. Obviously, they're going to have the 5, 6, 7, 8,000 fans, whatever they're allowed to take. That's going to bring expectation, and we might see another Derby County crumble under big expectation.
Agree. And Wednesday travel to Accrington in another big fixture as well. It's going to be a big allocation for those boys, and they travel well, don't they? And they're looking to kind of go there with a point to prove and kind of add to that kind of big team going to there and winning. Because Derby have done it recently, Bolton have done it. Can he make a hat trick of taking over the ground and winning the game of football?
Yeah, they travel well, Ben, but they're very quiet. So Accrington,
they were one of the loudest fans I saw at Highbury last year.
Opposite for us. I know. Opposite. I won't go into much, but really disappointed with the Wednesday fans at Central Bank a few weeks ago. Really disappointed.
Cambridge Bolton, a big game. I think Cambridge need to start winning games of football at home, and this is the type of game that Bolton lose a lot of times. And they lost 1-0 at this fixture last year, quite early on in the season, if I remember, when Bolton went on that 7-8 game defeats in a row away from home as well. Forest Green, Wickham, where do you see that one going?
Away, just.
Yeah,
I think they'll just nick it.
Port Vale, Oxford, I think this is the type of game that Port Vale could win, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think that they've been very good away from them. They've been decent against sides better than them. They've battled against every side, in my opinion. Wednesday, they only lost by a goal. Portsmouth, they only lost by a goal. Ipswich, they only lost by a goal. They've been to Pride Park and won. Beat Lincoln by a goal to 0. Dan Butterworth scored. Charlton, Burton. It's a type of game that Charlton slip up on. But Charlton nowadays, a little bit more stern.
Yeah, Charlton comfortably. Maybe it's time to put 4 or 5 past somebody else.
I fancy Barnsley to beat Shrewsbury. And go on, Jake, finish us off. Lincoln against Argyle.
Plymouth, 3-0.
Yeah, agree with that. Jake is over on the Stacey West podcast. Jake, where can they go and find your channel, mate?
I'll be quick because I know the FA Cup draw is on and most of your teams are still in it. So have a nice bloody time with the draw. Stacey West podcast, come over to the YouTube channel. We do previews and reviews. We've also got a podcast that goes out every Friday. And we've also got a website if you don't fancy looking at my face speaking. We've got Gary, who's a top writer, top bloke, who writes all things Lincoln City. So come over and check us out on the way to 1,000 subscribers.
Honestly, Jake is a top lad. And again, guys, we're going to end the show here. If you do have any quick questions before we do exit, if you could like today's stream, it would be massively appreciated as well. It does help the channel more than you will know. Again, we've got so many vlogs coming up. We're going to Bristol at the weekend as well, which I'm looking forward to. We've had a couple of new features. We've had our own man of the match in the game. The pie reviews will be continuing. I have more comments about that on Saturday than I did about the old game. So if you do support a League One team, let me know what I should have at your ground as well. Any quick questions as well? Ben, Cup draws on now. Yep, I believe so. I am going to watch it now. I hope your team gets a good draw in the Emirates FA Cup.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Anytime, mate. Let us know what you want as you're leaving the stream as well. But again, guys, without you, it's not a stream. Thank you for everyone that has popped in today. Thanks for everyone that has watched the stream, given it a like. And again, bit different, a League One kind of roundup of the whole season. We'll be back to normal next weekend where we review the games we've just discussed with Jake on our screens as well. Should be the same time next week, all being well. Jake, any final words, mate?
No, mate. Just good to be back. Nice to be back off a break and looking forward to getting pasted on the weekend by the Pilgrims. So, can't wait.
Love it. And I'm off to Bristol. Guys, it's been a big show. Thanks very much for watching. A big over now. If you are new, please remember to like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, FDFC Naples is the place to be if you want to be in any videos this season. Until next time, I will see you later. Up the Kyods and Jake.
Up the Imps.
Don't need to say anything more, do I?
No. Cheers, guys.